Good evening, everyone. I'm Maggie Robe, the Marketing and Events Manager at Flyleaf Books. Thank you so much for joining us to celebrate the publication of Salt Magic, the latest collaboration by Hope Larson and Rebecca Mock. Before we begin, here are a few Crowdcast basics. If you have questions throughout the event, put them in the chat or in the Q&A Ask a Question tab at the bottom of your screen, and I'll ask them towards the end of the evening. You can find out about all of our virtual events by clicking on the link at the top of the screen. We have in-person events at the store now too, so please check out our full events calendar on the Flyleaf website. If you'd like to support Flyleaf and tonight's authors, we have copies of Salt Magic and their other books available for purchase. Just click the green button at the bottom of this page. You can also call Flyleaf to order over the phone, or if you're local to Chapel Hill, come visit us and shop our shelves. We're now open 7 days a week. And now I'd like to welcome our guests for tonight's event. Hope Larson is the author and illustrator of many graphic novels for children, including the Eisner Award nominated All Summer Long and the illustrator of the Eisner Award winning and New York Times bestselling A Wrinkle in Time, the graphic novel. She lives in Asheville, North Carolina. Rebecca Mock is an illustrator, animator, comic book artist, educator, and writer. Their previous books include Compass South, a New York Times bestseller, and Knife's Edge, also collaborations with Hope Larson. They have made artwork for many newspapers, cartoons, books, commercials, and video games. They live and work in Brooklyn, New York. I'm going to minimize myself now so we can focus on our authors, but I'll pop back up in a little over 30 minutes to moderate the questions that you'll be posting in the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Maggie, and Flyleaf for having us. I think this is going to be a pretty informal chat this evening, but we've had lots of practice being interviewed by other people, so I think that's jogged our minds on what we would like to discuss just amongst ourselves, left to our own devices. So we're here in support of our new book, Salt Magic.
That's right. And here it is.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Oh. This is our third collaboration. The first two were Compass South and Knife's Edge. And this is a middle grade historical fantasy. I like to describe it as Little House on the Prairie meets Spirited Away, with a little pinch of Wizard of Oz in there as well. And it's the story of 12-year-old Von Seal, who leaves home to break the curse on her family's farm and must outsmart two different witches, Greta the Salt Witch and Dee the Sugar Witch. And it's a very magical story, but it's also a story that is about heart and family and brother-sister bonds and who you want to become as an adult.
Yes, excellent. Yes.
Yeah. Anything to add to that?
Definitely, it's about choosing your own destiny, choosing your own future, and growing up, and the magical journey of coming of age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I kind of wanted to ask you how you would pitch the book, because I always do the book like the elevator.
You have a good pitch for it is the thing. You have an excellent pitch for it.
But it's like, actually, this is one of my questions. I'm just going to go ahead and ask a question anyway before we get to our little reading, because
I like that. Yeah, let's kick it off.
Yeah, I usually when we talk about the book, I end up discussing the theme and the genesis of the project, and I was just so curious about what this book is about to you and what it means to you. Yeah. And what elements of the story connected with you?
Oh, gosh. I mean, for me, it resonates for me definitely when you talk about the theme of family. When I'm thinking about it in my mind as I'm like drawing it every day, I'm trying to think of like the themes that resonate with me. And the ones that keep coming up are sort of passing down stories generation to generation. I think that's a very strong theme. The connection of time or just like that, the way you lose time as you grow up, and definitely choosing your own destiny, I think, is like the central core theme for me. It's about a girl who is just burgeoning at that time when she's about to become an adult and chafing at the constraints of being a child, but also really scared of what's coming, and really disinterested in all of the options that she sees. And so that's why I love Von Seal. That's why I love the main character, because I think that's so relatable.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like every young person really is like, I don't want to be like any of the adults in my life.
Yeah. Just
that's
being
certainly what I was like.
Yeah. All of these options are boring. I hate this, but you also really, You're ready to not be a kid anymore, too.
Mm-hmm. To take some control of your destiny.
Yes.
Should we jump in and do the reading?
Yeah,
and then come back to questions?
That sounds good. That's a good way.
Okay.
That's a good way to intro it. I feel like this is a good scene for it. I'm going to share my screen.
Terrific.
Okay, and then I'm going to.
So this is a little excerpt of chapter 3 of Salt Magic, and when we enter into the action, Von Seal has been sent down into. She's just been squabbling with her family, I believe, and she's been sent down into the cellar to get some jam.
Alrighty.
Plum, blackberry. Mama, are we out of apple?
It's Amelia's favorite. I gave her the rest for a housewarming present.
Apple's my favorite, and Mama knows it. It's not right. Amelia should have it all. So Amelia is the wife of Von Seal's beloved older brother, Elber. He's returned from the war and immediately gotten married to her. And Von Seal is not a fan. She thought that she and Elber were going to live this exciting, adventure-filled life together. And instead, he's come back and just married his boring childhood sweetheart. So Von Seal has marched across the yard to the soddy, which is like a little sod-walled house where Elber and Amelia live. She peeks in the window. Nobody's there. She sneaks in. Nobody's there. Aha! Hello, beauty.
Von Seal, what are you doing?
Eek! Gosh. I just wanted one jar.
I'd have given you one if you'd asked. But you can't come in my house whenever you please and take what doesn't belong to you.
Okay.
Go home. I'll clean this up. Oh, and Von Seal, I know about the snakes.
Von Seal has been hiding snakes in Elber and Amelia's house to scare Amelia. I've tried to like her, Mama, but I just can't.
Then you'll have to pretend, my darling.
Anna.
Pauline. What's the news out your way?
Same as the news everywhere. Ain't any rain, and Pete's awful worried we'll lose this year's harvest.
Why don't you come get water from our spring? We've got enough to share.
Ain't that good of you? Say, mind if I tell Lori too? I seen him in church Sunday past, and he don't come there unless things are looking dire.
Sure, Pauline. You tell him we've got plenty of water to go round.
We've never had a drought before. Not since I was born, anyway. Huh? So Von Seal is looking across the street, and there's the hotel, and in front of it is this beautiful, gleaming white car with red leather seats, and there's this woman, which I don't know how well you can see this image over a crowdcast, but there is a glamorous woman in a big, voluminous fur stole. Mama, who's that at the hotel?
I don't know. She must be passing through.
She's beautiful. Her clothes and her car.
Whoever thought of a white car, Von Seal? She must spend half her life keeping it clean.
The way she's looking at me, I've never felt more seen in my life. It's like she knows me.
Von Seal, why are you standing in the middle of the street?
Huh? No reason, Mama. I feel a little funny, that's all.
So do I. Could be a change in the atmosphere. A front moving in.
You mean weather? Rain?
And if not, well, something's coming. That's for sure. By the prickling of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes.
And that's the end of our little section. So something wicked is definitely coming.
Yeah. I hope that the timing was all right. That was my first time running that presentation.
No, it's perfect. I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what's coming. Oh my goodness, who could it be?
Do you want to ask a question now, or should I?
What were my questions?
We could, what we haven't done at any of our events is
just
origin
interview each
stories.
other. Oh, interesting.
How did you get into comics? What made you want to make comics?
I think my intro would probably have to be Archie comics. I think that probably comes up for a lot of people in my age range. And that was definitely those little like digests that they would have at the grocery store, which resemble really graphic novels as we think of them, sort of the size. And they're just gags. They're just silly little gags, teenagers going about their business. They're really funny, well-drawn, slapstick humor. I just couldn't get enough of them. And that was how I learned to read. And I was already very interested in drawing. So I probably started to really want to do stuff like that when I was in elementary school. What about you?
Well, I think the first comics that I ever really read were the newspaper comics, the funnies. So Calvin and Hobbes was still running at that point. Far Side. It's probably a lot of stuff. It was, it was like 3 or 4 pages of comics in the newspaper.
Oh, totally. Every day.
Which is wild to think about. Peanuts was still running too. And then when I really got into what I think of as comics, my family moved to France for a year when I was 7, 8 years old.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And because I was learning the language, my parents were willing to buy me lots of bande dessinée, so French European comics. And I read a lot of Asterix. I read a lot of Tintin. I read a lot of My Little Pony comics, the 1980s My Little Pony comics that I had not, I don't think we even had them in the US.
No.
I was so excited when I found those. Believe me.
Now that's a comic.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like the first time that I'd seen comics that weren't newspaper comics or like superhero comics.
Right.
And they really just hooked me. And those adventure comics that I read then are really still informing a lot of the stuff that I write now, like especially our books.
Yeah.
Compass South and Knife's Edge and this one.
And My Little Pony. There's some ponies in this book.
That's right. Everything's represented.
Oh my gosh.
What's the saying?
Yeah,
like
the
it's
origin.
all grist for the mill, or everything is copy. That's the one I'm looking for.
Everything is copy. It's true. You can probably find little clues of every single point of origin in this book for both of us.
Yeah, I think so. What would be the Archie element?
I think the way I draw sort of the guys, the sort of like lumpy farmer body, the way that they walk around and like the overalls and stuff kind of reminds me of how Archie and Jughead were drawn in the classic Archie comics. I really love the 40s and 50s style Archies. They had very like loopy, bubbly, smooth cartooning in those. And I look at those and I'm like, wow, that's very like skillful movement that all of the characters have. But I think I still try to draw into my cartoons.
I don't even think I've seen the old Archies.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah,
I mean, some of the jokes haven't aged well, but
yeah, I bet. I had a friend who had a box of just the supermarket ones, like a cardboard box in her basement, and I would just sit there and like read them all.
Yes, they're great because you can sit there and just like read them continuously. And the style of like how they dressed and stuff. I think that like there was like a screenshot going around of like a Archie style page where they would draw them in different fashions, and it was like every
Ooh,
cartoonist I
I
know
think I've
just
seen that.
just dresses like this.
Yeah.
It's Jughead's fault. What about are there any parts of the book in Salt Magic that are like little character ideas or details that aren't in the book but are like definitely true to you as far as the character, like other like outer histories or like little side stories that like didn't make it in?
I mean, I don't know that there's anything that didn't make it in per se, but I wish we could see the Elberg Greta romance in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be amazing. And I would love to just see like Greta's past, some of her past. She is Greta is a very long-lived / immortal question mark. We don't it's not ever really completely clarified.
Right. It doesn't need
she's
to be
timeless. And she's been around for a really long time and had a lot of romances and adventures probably. So I would love to see more of that.
Yeah, or even just that's good to think about. The implication is that she knows the Taggarts. She knows like the history of that family. So it'd be cool to meet other earlier Taggarts. Like,
that would
go
be
even
cool.
farther back in history. That would be so cool. I was thinking that I love Sana, the snake woman.
Yeah.
So much.
that's Sana with 3 S's.
Yes, Sana.
SSSANA.
I mean, her design specifically, I really enjoyed drawing her every single time. And I have this like, I have an image in my head of her and Dell going on their own adventures. And I don't want to spoil anything specific in the book, but they have a connection. So I love that connection, and I'd love to see more of it. I think, and I have little ideas about the adventures they go on.
Yeah, I feel like with every project we've done, you've always gone a little bit into not fanfic mode exactly, but kind of.
I like that. I'll take that.
My brain doesn't do that ever with like anything. I don't ask the what if questions.
I wonder, it's probably because I read a lot of fan fiction that I go there. Mm-hmm. And it's fun being the artist on projects where I'm working with you or with another writer, where I can be the fan of the story, and I can say, I can adopt these characters and think of my own little personal headcanons for them, like I'm enjoying them as a reader. Yeah,
on the writing side, I always just feel like I'm so caught in the mechanics of the whole thing and trying to like make it work, function the way I need it to, thematically and just plot wise. So I can't really, it takes me a really long time to pull away from that and really see the thing as a whole. Like even this book, I feel like sometimes I don't really get what is going on in it on the whole until I start promoting it, and I have to think about it that way and explain it to other people.
That's so true. I totally agree. It's like when you're working on the project, you're just thinking about getting it done, or just like even just getting the page done. Yeah, it's good that we've had like space and time away from it, and we're able to come back and enjoy it, almost like just enjoy other people's reactions to it, because until you get that, you really sort of don't know if it's worked.
Yeah. Well, it was fun pulling the section for this reading, because I was like, oh, all the thematic stuff is just kind of like in
that section. You're right.
It's all just laid out, and I
almost like you did it on purpose.
I thought about it. Yeah, probably it was on purpose, but you can't see it when you're in it, or I can't.
No, I get that too.
Let's see.
Someone brought up in a review that there's like they read it a second time and they pulled a bunch of like Easter eggs that they didn't notice the first time. Nice. And I was like, did we do that? Are there little clues? I don't remember doing that.
There may be. Wait, is this one of the reviews you sent? I'm gonna have to go and look at it.
It's a new one, I think. I'm not sure if I sent it to you, but there's a review where they said they enjoyed it the first time. They said they cried at the end, which I love.
Oh, good. That's what I want.
and that they had a very affecting read the second time because they knew where it was going. They noticed all these little details that we apparently put in. One of my questions was going to be, are there any Easter eggs or details you think people won't notice the first time?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that might be more in your department, honestly.
It might be. And honestly, I'm going to catch myself out because I don't remember. I know I put, I wanted to say Dee, the Sugar Witch, if you look closely at all of the stuff in her house, you might notice some human bones.
Oh,
I added those late because I thought
I did not notice them. I'm going to have to go look for them myself now.
I'm so
That's
glad.
awesome.
Yay. Yes. Because I was thinking more about her character and like, okay, she's kind of cannibalistic. She sort of implies that she eats people.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the clue visually for that? So I hid it in there. Only if you look closely.
Let's see. Oh, I'd love to talk about the colors. The colors in the book are one of my favorite parts.
I'm so glad.
Do you want to talk about how you developed the color palette?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I was looking at Moebius comics. So like Blueberry in particular is this old Western that he did. And the way that those comics are colored in general, like these sort of like 1960s, 70s comics, they're like watercolor, but they're flat color. So, you're inking in each color separately flat. And it's going to be reproduced with like a set number of colors. So you kind of are restricted to this like small palette. And so the way he would color his comics is like a lot of flat tones, or like using one shade of yellow across the whole page, just in different values. And there isn't really a way to do that effectively the way digital comics are colored, because often you use flats first. You flat out each like section, and then you sort of color pick and like drop in color. And that's good for getting consistency across a book. But what I wanted were those washes, those like watercolor washes. So what I did was I did little color studies of each page, and they're like this big. And they're like little color thumbnails, and I just like quickly like digitally watercolored each of them in, and used those as my starting point for each page. And what I hope is that creates color tones across scenes. So like I would think of a whole scene as like, this is the yellow scene, this is the pink scene. And so even if the characters' colors change depending on the light, there you go. That's the purple scene.
There's the purple scene.
The
There's
greens.
A lot of purple on this one too. And
purple is a personal
A lot
favorite.
more purple and some yellow.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of purple and pink.
I didn't realize how much purple was in this book until now. That's not a complaint. It's just an observation. There's some blue.
Definitely go for purple when I'm not sure what color to make things.
And I always have to pull out this party scene if I can find it, the disco scene.
I'm so happy with how that printed.
Ah, there we go. It's easy to find because
it's the pink, and it's also in the center. It's page 104 of 230.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see all this wonderful detail. I don't know that it really.
It's definitely something
translates
that pops
over the screen
when you open the book, and on screen when you have the digital version. But yeah, that scene, like, there isn't people's skin tones and everything change with lighting, and I wanted to really enhance that, but also change people's colors based on how they feel. And if they're like thinking internally, then maybe all of the color drops out. That kind of thing. I love stuff like that in comics, and I wanted to pull that in as much as possible.
Yeah, kind of like there must be a term for this, for emotional coloring.
Yeah.
Like how the weather reflects the character's emotions in a book or a movie or something. There's a term for that too.
Yeah, it's something you see in film as well.
Pathetic fallacy, I think.
Ooh.
I know this because it's like a thing included in a high school age book that I'm writing about. So
nice.
I think that's the term. It might be wrong.
I didn't know that. Yes, that's what I was going for. And it's something very unique to comics that you can't do in quite the same way in other visual mediums. And like with a magic story too, you can really enhance the colors. It was a lot of fun doing the magic stuff. Was there, when you were writing the magic scenes, was there like a visual or like a storybook that you were thinking about when you were writing them or anything like that?
Like the D ones specifically?
Yeah, like her like magic
No.
concoction scene. Oh
I
gosh,
think
the
I
little
kind of wanted
details
it
of
to be like chemistry, which you totally captured. But
yeah.
I don't know if I actually put that in the script or if I'm just like just thinking that I had something to do with the way you drew it. Because we've been working on this book
It's been a
it was like
while.
a 5-year
Yeah. The inception phase,
project.
the starting phase where we came up with all of our ideas was quite a while ago. Definitely the like magic language that she uses when she like does her spell. I was thinking of molecules when I was putting that together because I didn't want it to look like any specific language or writing style. It needed to be totally unique. So I thought of like chemistry when you draw like the little circles on your tests, which I
Like the
hated
atoms?
chemistry. Yeah, like
Or
test
the molecule, like the sticks and the dots.
yeah, and like the little like symbols and stuff when you have to like
Oh yeah.
draw the
Gotcha.
sugar molecule on your chemistry test, which is the worst. I hated doing that.
Well,
That's her
it turned out
language.
super cool though. The magic stuff was the hardest for me to think about just because I felt real dorky. And I think I had to get over myself a little bit.
Was there anything like when you were writing it that was there a point or like a detail you came up with that like made it click for you?
No, I think I just had to like grind through it with that stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For whatever reason. I
It
think
came out really
maybe
good.
it's because I don't usually write fantasy. So getting into that mindset was a little tricky. The magic specifically, because like usually when you have magic in a story, you are supposed to have a bunch of rules. And how does it work? And I just never did that or wanted to do that with this book.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. I think because you don't spend too much time weighing it down with world building, it makes it work better.
Yeah, I think so too. Ultimately, yeah. We thought about it enough, as much as it needed to be thought about and worked out, and no more than that. And I think with Margaret, our editor, I really resisted nailing it down too much, like how it works and why it works. And I think like you read the book and you intuitively understand what's happening with the magic, and that was really how I wanted it to be, like a little bit intuitive.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it too, because like a fairy tale about witches for kids, like those stories historically and like critically are sort of about kids learning about intuition, learning about like their inner voice, and like trusting yourself and learning from your elders. Like it comes back to that. Stories about magic are meant to be about like the inner workings of your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you want to do your drawing?
I was going to ask.
I have a drawing. That now, and can you talk and draw at the same time?
I can. I might not. It might be more stream of conscious and less me being able to remember questions. But yes,
that's cool. Okay, I'll let's see. I think I've got some simple questions, so I guess you can get going, and I'll just start.
I'll softball. And if you have drawing requests, Hope, I'd love to draw you something. If there's anything in particular.
Oh man, well I would love to see Asana if you remember how to draw her.
Yeah, well,
if not,
I'll give it a shot. Here, I'll sketch her for us. Let's see if I can do it. What I did was I drew Dell. I drew old Dell.
I love it. And Elber.
And Elber.
Or Elber? Yes. Okay.
Yes. Sort of a generic farm boy, but that's Elber. He could be Jesse too. They're meant to be similar. Let's see, but Sana is pretty simple. That's part of the reason she's fun. And Dell is that. They have mirrored swoops.
Oh, amazing.
Dell and Sana match.
Yeah, she has the best hair.
It's so good. I love it.
And her face. I love it. So she is a snake girl, snake person.
Yeah, would you describe her as like a snake, like an animal person, like an anthropomorphic spirit, or is she also a witch? Like, what would you
Gosh.
think?
I think I always thought of her as being like an anthropomorphized snake.
Like a
rather than
monster
witch.
person.
Yeah, like a monster person.
creature.
But like this is yet another thing where I've not dug in very deep on this one. And
I think in this case it's okay to not really dig.
Yeah.
It's more interesting. It's very up for interpretation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
She has a blazer that I want to own. And the cool thing, I think this is cool. Originally in the concept phase, we weren't sure if she was going to be male or female.
Right.
She has a bolo. So she
honestly, I love her more the way she is in the end.
But the way that she dresses, which is a little bit masculine, and sort of comes from that.
Yeah, it's perfect. She's perfect. Somebody asked, what are you using to draw?
I'm using Photoshop. I'm using a brush that I made basically that's just called Feel Good because it's got very low pressure sensitivity, so I can draw fast. I downloaded some new brushes that I might try to use to ink these. Oh yeah. And she has a snake body. Just gonna make her a little smaller so I can make her a snake.
So cool. Do you have a character that was the most fun to design?
Fun to design?
Or is that just like an
Oh no.
I hate doing designs personally, so I don't know. Maybe it's not fun.
No, it's honestly the funnest part was designing everything. It was less fun to actually have to officially draw it all. I think I did really like designing Dell. Just because it was a challenge. I wasn't sure I was going to draw an old man and make him really both like kind of scary. He needs to be kind of spooky at the beginning, but also really lovable.
Yeah.
To have this like hidden warmth. And I wasn't sure I was going to do that. And just the fact that I kind of nailed it at the design phase. Like I love how his design was when I got the balance right. I've always had an affection for him since.
Yeah, he's great.
Okay.
My other design question is, well, I guess this isn't really a design.
Oh, do you have a favorite character? Is there a favorite character design?
I love Greta. I think she's amazing.
Yes.
She's so she's kind of like creepy and weird looking, but also very glamorous. And I love that juxtaposition.
Yes. Yeah, I wanted her to be a little bit inhuman, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I know that's something that we talked about. I remember talking about that.
Yeah, that definitely was in the beginning notes. The like character descriptions you sent me. Okay, what about this? Oh, soft ink. We like this.
I know that in another event we talked about which we relate with the most, relate to the most.
That is a good question. I like that.
Yeah. And for me it was D. I think I'm more of a D. And you said you were more of a Greta. But I was wondering if we like broaden the scope to any character. Is there a character that you relate to the most or feel who do you feel the most of a kinship with?
I got this question at Comic-Con and I said Dell. I think because he's the oldest, he's like he's also at a weird transitional phase. He's like that scene where he looks at the moon, and I don't want to give too much away, but there's a scene where he has an internal dialogue and he looks at the moon and he's like, he thought he was mad at his brother, but he was scared to go on without his brother. He has this like interesting relationship with his brother that
kind of codependent.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
As a older sibling, but still sort of feeling like dependent on your younger sibling. I thought that was a beautiful inner thought and one that I could really relate to. So since reading that, I really adore him. Yeah. What about you? Is there any other character besides the witches that you really relate to?
I know I joked the other day that I'm more of an Amelia, the homebody, just like down on the
with
farm,
an inner
getting
strength.
it done. Yeah, like I don't know that I am really that kind of person, but I do respect her a lot as a character, and I feel like she kind of gets short shrift. She's like
Definitely.
this person who's keeping everything running, and it's not glamorous, and she doesn't get a ton of respect or a lot of glory for it, but she's just going to do it because she feels like that's her job. That's what she has to do. And really, like, nothing could keep running without her.
Yeah, definitely. The quintessential like she you can see that she'll become like a very strong matriarch type.
Yes, exactly. Like, she and Elber will take over the farm down the road. And
Von Seal judges her for that, but I like
Yeah.
how the story is that she learns that there's like another side to that you can't just unilaterally say, well, I think that's boring.
Yeah. I think I might be an Elber, actually. Like,
Oh,
I came back, I moved back to my hometown, I settled down, I had a kid.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I think about, like, when I was younger, I like Elber, I wanted to have this really adventurous, exciting, glamorous life. And now that I'm older, I'm like, nah, that's for other people. It's cool.
Right. And you've had your experiences.
You've
seen the world. You've come back with your
Yeah.
scars. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think anybody could relate to that.
I think older people can. I think younger people probably cannot. This is probably a character that you would come back to if you read this book as a younger person, and as an older person, you'd be like, oh, I thought Elber was lame, but now I get it.
There's other stuff that's happened to me with, like, there's books and stuff that I have changed my mind about characters, coming back to them as an older person. I'm trying to think of an example.
I mean, the one I always think about is Reality Bites.
Oh, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the classic one where you're like, oh, Ethan Hawke's so dreamy. And then later you're like, no, he sucks.
Yeah.
He's terrible. Let's see. Do I have any more fun questions? I mean, do you want to talk about industry stuff? Best and worst parts of making comics professionally? Or is that just like
is it too much?
Too real?
Let's say best part of making comics.
Best part.
Because I'm sitting here drawing right now, and that is part of what I have to consider my job, that's pretty cool. I like this kind of thing where I have moments where I think, this is actually really fun. This is what I would want to be doing anyway. And I'm on the clock technically right now.
Yeah.
This is smoothing my brain out. So I like that. I like that about this job.
I like that I get to stay home. Well, I mean, as in, like, I've never, as an adult, I haven't really had a job that I had to go anywhere for, aside from like publishing events and conventions, comic conventions and stuff. And I think that has really prepared me well for quarantine, which is really just more of the same.
Yeah. It's so true. Yeah, it was, we had an easier transition time than other industries.
For sure.
We're already set up. Yeah, I like that about that too.
I
like the events stuff as well. Going
to
the conventions and things always feels kind of glamorous.
Yeah.
So nice.
What else do I like? I mean, I love getting to tell stories for a living, to write stories. That's the thing that I love the most, and I really never get sick of it.
Ah, so true.
I don't know that I have any other skills, so I'm really fortunate that this is what I get to do still.
Oh no. I worry about that sometimes as well. I can't, or I was thinking that, like, building comics is a bit like building machines. even writing stories you have to think of them like little machines, because they all have to kind of work outside of time. Everything has to sort of work simultaneously, the same way if you were like putting together a clock.
Yeah.
So if I was going to transfer my persona to another universe where I couldn't work on the computer and I couldn't draw comics, I'd probably do something like that.
Something mechanical.
Yeah. I think that it transfers. So you can think of it that way. That our skills probably, the mindset transfers if the skills don't.
I would like to warn everyone that my 2-year-old is raging up the stairs right now, crying because Ponyo got turned off. So
I would cry too.
Yes, you'll probably hear some sorrow in the background. She's okay.
Ponyo was a big inspiration, definitely. That was one of the books, art books that I was looking at when I was doing the designs.
It's so good.
This striped jacket is definitely straight from
Fujimoto,
right?
The dad. Yeah, I don't know what his name is. Ponyo's dad.
This was straight from that.
Yep. And actually his hair is kind of similar to hers too.
It is.
She has like a short version of that.
I would say one of my headcanons is that Sana's hair grows out sometimes. And this is more manageable her, but she has a long hair look.
Oh, cool.
And it probably looks like him. I'm going to draw the old man now because I just really want to.
Oh, boy. I love his eyebrows.
I just love that all of his hair and everything and his wrinkles, he just gets lost in it. He's so much fun to draw. You can probably tell. If you read the book and any of the scenes with him in, I think the energy is apparent that I'm having fun, where in other scenes I might not be.
I can't tell personally if you're not having fun. Is it Q&A time?
Hello.
I think so. Hello. I have a couple of questions, maybe even a drawing request that have come in, and I wondered if you might be able to answer that. We have a question from Ella asking, how do you draw Voncel?
Oh, sure.
I don't know if you have a chance to do that, but
you can draw her right here with her favorite great uncle.
Sweet.
Okay. So Voncel is pretty simple because I had to draw her a bajillion times. So she's just a round head with a very big bouncy bob. And she has dark eyes and dark hair to contrast all of her sisters. And a determined look on her face most of the time. She has the choppy bangs, and then her bob has to kind of come up close to her ears. It can't really go past her chin or it's too long. And it always has to be windswept, so the hair has to be going everywhere. As long as it's not straight down, then that's Voncel. And the other thing about her hair is that it's black, and it took forever to color this in every single time. So we'll wait.
Was there no way for you to just do fills?
I did that sometimes, for sure. No, I really wanted the hair texture to come through, so I stubbornly or I had my assistants help me hand color in her hair most of the time. But there is a brush that I would use to fill large areas that looks like a bunch of little brush strokes, so that's my trick.
Oh, smart.
I would just get that out.
I have another question, which is kind of pertaining to what you're doing right now. So what are you using to draw? I can see that it's Photoshop, I think, but I think maybe if you can tell us, like,
I can show you the brushes. Yeah.
How are you doing it? That would, I think, be really cool.
Wow, her head is really crooked. Don't worry about that. So there's a couple specific brushes that I used, and I wanted them to look rough. I like rough lines, sort of dry media. And I have a little folder here called Salt Magic or Salt Witch, maybe. There it is. I used only a couple of the ones in here, but this one was the brush I used for all of the lines. It looks like a pastel brush. I can ink a little bit more Dell with this one.
It's so funny. I I drew the balloons and caption boxes and stuff, and
That's right.
had Rebecca make a style sheet for me to follow. And until that time, I did not know you could set the smoothing
Yes.
on Photoshop
This is
brushes,
the
and I was
trick.
like, "Oh, well, this changes everything."
Yeah, in the newer versions of what this didn't exist when I started, but in the newer versions, you can set the smoothing, and that'll like auto smooth your lines. So
It
for
just
a
takes
lot
some
of
of the jiggle out.
so for a lot of these like big swooping curves, you want to, as an artist, and I don't know if this is a spoiler for anybody, you want to take every single shortcut you can. And for me to get through some of this drawing, I would set the smoothing up so that I wouldn't have to hold my brush quite as tight and I could draw faster. And so smoothing was great for that. And it's perfect for drawing things like word bubbles.
Yeah. I'm switching over to digital finally for my next stuff. But the smoothing trick was the first time it ever felt kind of like brush inking digitally.
Mm-hmm.
And that just like cracked everything open for me and made me think, oh, okay, I could actually do this, because drawing on paper and scanning it back in and correcting it is just,
that's the part that takes too much time.
It's so time consuming.
Yeah.
I can work so much faster digitally now.
I was going to ask that question, have you ever, Rebecca, not worked digitally? I mean, as a professional, and Hope, it sounds like you mostly have done that until recently. So that's just really interesting.
Yeah. Actually, in Compass South, in our first book, the first 12 pages or so, a lot of those are actually traditionally inked. Those were the only part of the book that I did by hand, like on paper with ink, because up until I started working on Compass South, if I was doing comics, I mostly drew them by hand in graphite or ink. And I switched to digital just to draw faster, because we had a pretty tight schedule for those books. And I never went back.
Somebody's asking what tablet you are using.
I have a Cintiq. I have one of the large Wacom Cintiqs. It's a Pro, which is one of the newer ones that I wouldn't recommend, really. It has some advantages, but I hate that it doesn't have the buttons. This is technical nitty-gritty, but the older model is better.
So going back to, I wanted to ask a question. You said that you've been thinking about this book for 5 years. So with that, I'm also interested, with you both being illustrators, like, how do you, Hope, as the writer, do you give any sort of ideas or notes to Rebecca, or do you really just let them go through the process? And then, I mean, how do you hold back as being an illustrator as well? Because you're the first pair that I've heard about that are both illustrators, yet obviously you seem to have clearly defined roles in this particular book.
Yeah, I write full script, which means that I write a page of script per page of comic generally, and I spell out what text, what speech balloons, what captions are in each panel, and what's happening in each panel, and that's open to adjustment, because I know from drawing my own stuff that sometimes it just doesn't really quite work when you sit down to draw it. But yeah, I try to be as specific as I can about what should be happening in the panel and what we need to see. And what's your perspective on this?
The thing is, you do give notes, and they're always helpful. What's wonderful is that you are an artist, and so I can show you progress. Like, I'll send batches of pages to Hope, and she'll be the one who gives me the visual notes, essentially what a comics editor would do, which is like, and they're small things usually. We've gotten used to working with each other, but like little things that I always accidentally do, like orient the panel the wrong way around. That was a note that someone else could sort of pick up on, who knows how to put together a page and knows how to like make a page flow.
Mm-hmm.
So I can rely on Hope for those kinds of notes and feedback. Or like, because the script is very set, Hope has a very clear vision of action to action, what happens and why, to tell the story. I have a lot to work with. So even though our roles are very separate, I can rely on the script a lot, and it makes drawing it feel very secure. And the changes that I make are usually minor, because there's less guesswork for me, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try and do to get the script as locked as it can possibly be before Rebecca starts working, because once you start drawing, it's very hard to change things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pain. So even when I get my notes from our editor, I usually try as hard as I possibly can to make changes with text only, so nothing has to be redrawn if possible. Because I know, at least for myself, I will rewrite the text a million times, but I hate having to throw out art so much. Oh my gosh, it makes me want to die.
I'm the same way.
So,
When I do write comics, the dialogue is changing constantly.
Yeah.
It is in flux. But the art only changes if the intent changes, and generally the intent is locked in at the script stage.
Yeah.
So are you working on another project together? Or, I mean, you seem to have fun, you seem to be real friends, and obviously your previous works have been very successful, and I'm sure this one will be too. What's next for the both of you, together or separately?
We don't have anything on the books together. I feel like the books that we've done together are a specific sort of thing, and I don't know, like maybe something will come to us down the road that is like, oh, this should be the next thing. But I know that right now we're both working on separate projects, which is Rebecca, do you want to talk about this? I'm so excited.
Yeah, it is exciting because you sort of get double content. We're both working on new things. I'm working on a graphic novel that I'm also writing right now. It's in the very early stages. It'll be a while before you hear anything about it, but it is about ballet, about kids doing ballet. So some of the imagery, honestly, and like character designs from Salt Magic directly inspired the characters and aesthetic for this new book that I'm doing. And I'm really excited to draw more beautiful dancerly characters.
Can you say what age range that's for?
It's middle grade.
It's middle grade? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Little 10, 11-year-old characters.
Oh boy.
I
can't wait.
Fun.
Let's see. What am I working on? I have another book coming out in, I think, January, February. All My Friends, which is book 3 in the Eagle Rock trilogy, with All Summer Long and All Together Now. And that was actually supposed to be out now. And thank goodness it isn't, because I would probably just be dead.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Dead of promo. It fell prey to supply chain stuff. So anyway, it is coming. It's been done for a while.
Is there anything after that?
Sorry, go ahead.
What's on the docket?
Then after that, I'm working on another book for Holiday House, which is the publisher of Salt Magic, and that is actually going to be YA, and it's a hybrid book, so it's not a comic. It's kind of a hodgepodge of prose, letters, illustration, comics. I'm excited about it.
And
it's set in Nashville as well. So it's like, it's not autobiographical, but I think a lot of people will think it is. So that'll be fun. Yeah.
That sounds awesome. I'm going to ask of our attendees if you have any final questions. We're going to be wrapping up in a couple of minutes. But it's just so mesmerizing to watch Rebecca creating these characters right in front of us. Yeah, just so cool. And I want to thank you both so much for taking the time and bringing the tech on board to do this. It's been really great and fun for us to be able to see this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
I'm letting us
I'm gonna
ramble.
stop.
Oh no, I think that was totally. It was just beautiful, and yeah, I'm very excited for the book. If everyone, I'll do my little spiel here now. For those who do not have the book yet, it published last week, so I have the ARC here, but that's the final version. So you can buy it at Flyleaf. There's a little, you can buy it from our website here, or you can go and buy it online. And it's awesome. So please do and enjoy, reread, find those little Easter eggs, those little hidden things that Rebecca was talking about. So
They're in there, apparently.
apparently they're in there.
Let me know.
So yeah, well, thank you both so much for spending the time with us, and good luck with the publication and everything else, the other projects you're working on.
Thank you.
And I want to tell the audience members, if you missed some of our conversation tonight, or if you want to share it with a friend, it will be available here on Crowdcast and uploaded to our YouTube channel in the coming days. And then please keep an eye out for other events on our website and our weekly newsletter. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us tonight, everybody, and to Hope and Rebecca. And yeah, continue on with the virtual tour. And I hope the book is a big success.
Thank
Thanks
you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.